Welcome to MTG Friends, I'm Ryan, and in this episode we're going to be doing Commander deck tech for Krenko Mob Boss Gangsta Shenanigans. I just had to do it. It just had to get out of me. So, anyways, before we get into Krenko and all of his craziness that he does, let's go through the packages. We got our Goblins package. We got Removal, Draw, the Horde, because this is all about Goblins. We got the Land package, the Ramp package, the Protection package, as well as Shenanigans. There's always got to be a little bit of shenanigans. All right, so without much ado, we will go towards Krenko. All right, what does this bad boy do? Well, first of all, this is Tribal Goblin. Every single creature in here is a goblin but one, and he's a giant, and he's all about goblins as well. So for all intents and purposes, this is all about goblins. So what does he do? Krenko, he taps, creates X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control. So this build is going to synergize three main points: goblin creation, hitting the battlefield, sacking and leaving the battlefield, and goblins being tapped. Those three things are going to be win conditions, serious shenanigans, serious hardcore red fun goblin stuff going on. This is a super fun, fast build that you're going to really be flooding the board, and before people realize it, you've got goblins running all over the place doing what goblins do. So, before we hit the goblin section, some of our win cons are going to be pinging people to death because we have goblins entering the battlefield. Plus the synergy that Krenko does, because if there's one goblin and he taps, there's now two. Well, if there's 10, there's suddenly 20. I mean, this gets out of hand real quick. And we have some ramp in here as well to get him out even earlier than turn 4, hopefully, possibly. So, all right. Let's get into this. Goblins. All right. And before we go into this is a fairly budget friendly commander deck. There are two specific cards in here that do have possibilities for swapping them out that make this a lot more expensive than it normally would be. I will mention them and mention subs for them. There's a couple others that are a little spendy, but not anything crazy. So this is going to be a deck that you can play and put together for a fairly decent budget, but you don't necessarily have to. All right, getting into it. Goblin Assassin. Whenever Goblin Assassin or another goblin comes into play, each player flips a coin. Each player whose coin comes up tails sacks a creature. Sweet. We like those kind of mechanics. All right, Goblin Chieftain for 3/2/2. He's a haster. Other goblin creatures you control get +1/+1 and have haste. We've got a lot of goblins in here that give +1/+1. Speaking of which, the OG original gangsta Goblin King. He's a 3-drop. All goblins gain Mountain Walk and get 1/1. Now, Mountain Walk may seem insignificant. However, there is another card in here that we will mention later. Oh, we'll just kind of mention it now. Blood Moon. That makes this super janky awesome. So we will go into that a little deeper later. All right. Goblin Lackey for 1/1/1. Whenever Goblin Lackey successfully deals damage to a player, you may choose a goblin card in your hand and put that goblin into play. Yes. Yes, goblins are all about doing janky, fun, crazy stuff, and that is one of them. Wow. Goblin Matron for 3/1/1. Whenever Goblin Matron enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a goblin card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. A tutor in the form of a goblin? Sweet. Sweet. Oh, love it. Love it. Goblins are so wonderful. Oh, and a quick little shout out to Josh. Josh, this is for you. He's the one who originally came up with this goblin deck. He loves goblins. We love goblins. I've actually played against this deck, and I've played with this deck. So this is super fun. We play tested this a lot, and we really like it. When you show up with this thing at your local store, you play with a friend, and they aren't expecting this, it's going to get real ugly for them real quick. All right, Goblin Recruiter for 2/1/1. When Goblin Recruiter comes into play, search your library for any number of Goblin cards you choose, reveal those cards, then shuffle your library and put them on top of it in any order you choose. Oh, more tutoring. Oh, man. And that's something that Red has trouble with, so this is a way to fix it. And we fix it in the form of goblins. Goblin Ringleader, another one that goes and fetches you some stuff in the form of goblins. It's a 4-drop 2/2 creature goblin with haste. When Goblin Ringleader enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all goblin cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, as we all know, Red has a real difficult time doing draw. You have to do extra things to get draw. Well, this helps you, especially in the Goblin world. Goblin Trashmaster for 4/3/3, right out of M19. So it's fairly new. Other goblins you control get +1/+1. Sacrifice goblin, destroy target artifact. Man, this is so cool. You get the +1/+1 for your goblins, and then you can start sacking stuff. And you're going to have plenty of goblin tokens to choose from. Because remember, our commander is all about making lots and lots of goblins. Goblin War Party for 4. Choose one. Create 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn. And then you can entwine it to do both, which is paying that. So it's going to be pretty expensive to entwine it, but mid-game, late game, this might work for you. Goblin Warchief for 3/2/2. Goblin spells you play cost 1 less to play. Goblins you control have haste. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Grenzo, Havoc Razor. It's a 2-drop 2/2. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Goad, target creature that player controls. Or exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may cast that card and you may spend that mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. Oh man, that's just super fun. I love that. Horde of Bogarts. And notice the Horde of Bogarts isn't actually in the Horde section, but whatever. Horde of Bogarts' power and toughness are each equal to the number of red permanents you control. Horde of Bogarts can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. And those tokens are red, by the way. Krenko 10 Street Kingpin, right out of War of Spark. This thing I remember in Standard was very, very fun to play. Legendary creature goblin, whenever Krenko 10 Street Kingpin attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. He's a goblin generator within himself. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Legion War Boss. Another one. Look at this. We're making goblins. We're making goblins. I digress. He's got Menor. Whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. Very quick 3-drop. It does a lot of cool stuff. All right, we're going to definitely call this a goblin because it's in a goblin deck and it's a shapeshifter, so there you have it. As Mimic enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Goblin! Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Each other creature you control of the chosen type enter the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Oh, so we're buffing them now too? Yes, sir. So Krenko's going to be pumping out 2/2 goblin tokens at this point. Sweet molasses. I love it. And you know, the only thing that's really going to slow you down in this build is a bunch of board wipes. And they need to happen often and frequently because you're just going to keep building the board up with all of these goblins. It's just lunacy out there, folks. Lunacy. Pure lunacy. Oh, and this one is a brand new one. Just added this recently. Muxus Goblin Grandee for 6/4/4. One of the most pricey goblins in the entire build, if not the most. Legendary creature goblin Noble. When Muxus Goblin Grandee enters the battlefield, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. Put all Goblin creature cards with converted mana cost 5 or less from among them onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Most of the goblins in this build are going to be less than 5. Except for this one. When Muxus attacks, it gets a +1/+1 until end of turn for each other goblin you control, which is going to be humongous. Most likely. Alright, Pashalik Mons. He's a 3-drop 2/2 legendary creature Goblin Warrior. Whenever Pashalik Mons or another goblin you control dies, Pashalik Mons deals 1 damage to any target. That means the player as well. Oh boy. And for 4, you can sack a goblin, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So we've got some extra cool stuff as well. Reckless One. I don't know, I just felt like it had to be said that way. It's a 4-drop, star/star, haster, goblin avatar. Reckless One's power and toughness are each equal to the number of goblins on the battlefield. Release chaos with me. Is that how he would sound, I think? Or would it be more like, release chaos with me? All right, what do you think? I don't know. Moving on. Siege Gang Commander for 5. Yes, he's kind of smendy, but what does he do? He's a 2/2 goblin. When Siege Gang Commander enters the battlefield, create 3 goblin creature tokens. And then you can pay 2. Sacrifice goblin. Siege Gang Commander deals 2 damage to any target. Board clearing and pinging players' faces. Love it. Squee the Immortal. He's a 3-drop 2/1. He is in here because he just is sticky. He won't go away. You may cast Squee the Immortal from not only your graveyard, but also from exile. And of course your hand. Haha. The only time you can't cast this is if in your library. So he's fun. And he's only like 60 cents or something. So, but he fits in wonderfully into this deck. Tuk the Explorer. He's a 3-drop 1/1 legendary creature. And he's got haste. When Tuk the Explorer dies, create a legendary 5/5 colorless goblin golem artifact creature token named Tuk the Return. So somebody wipes your board. Oh man, that sucks. But hey, you get a 5/5 colorless goblin out of it. That's pretty sweet. I like it. I like it a lot. And that is actually from Rise of the Eldrazi. That's the old card. I always like seeing the old cards. Those are my favorites. My faves. Volley Veteran 4/4/2 Goblin Warrior. When Volley Veteran enters the battlefield, it deals damage to target creature an opponent controls equal to the number of goblins you control. So that's most likely going to be for an insane amount of damage, as long as something hasn't gone horribly wrong in your board state. And I like this this flavor text. Fill the sky with stuff. Goblin flavor text is like some of the most hilarious text out there. It's just something. Oh man. All right, Warren Instigator. Boy, this is super cool in a Goblin tribal deck. It's a 2-drop 1/1 double striker. Whoa. Whenever Warren Investigator deals damage to an opponent, you may put a Goblin creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That's so cool. Oh man, you're just emptying your hand like Red loves to do. Just blah! And in our next segment, we'll have ways of refilling that hand. Eldrazi Monument 5. Create creatures you control get +1/+1 and have flying. Flying goblins! And indestructible flying goblins! Sweet! At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice creature, which will not be a problem unless there's some serious shenanigans going on with your opponents. If you can't, sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. So, worst case scenario, you gotta sack it. Goblin Chirurgeon. I'm pretty sure I said that. He's a surgeon. That's a goblin. And those are some funky looking goblins in that picture. Holy moly. For nothing, you sacrifice goblin to regenerate a target creature. Lovely. You can sack one of your 1/1 weenie tokens to keep something else alive. I like it a lot. All right, so Lightning Greaves are in here in our protection segment. These are in here specifically to put on Krenko, and you're not going to be attaching anything else to him, so that's why Shroud is not a problem. Plus, it gives it haste, so if you have this early on, you can attach to him and immediately start tapping him to create that Goblin Horde board. Say that 4 times really fast. All right, removal. This is a hate card, but when you chuckle about this, make sure you do it inside or else you're going to be losing friends. Ruination, it's a 4-drop sorcery, destroy all non-basic lands. That is not going to affect us hardly at all. But it's going to certainly affect your other opponents because most likely they're going to be using non-basic lands. Be careful when you play this though, because we have a couple other cards, like I was saying earlier, that would be that would affect the way that this happens. Castle Embereth. I mean, of course, if you're in mono red, you're gonna run this card. It comes in tapped unless you control a mountain, which is gonna absolutely happen unless this is the first land you play, which is not gonna happen. And for 3, you tap it, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Your entire horde gets a +1. Holy shnikes, that is super duper awesome. All right, we're running 31 mountains and a new kit on the block. Zendikar Rising, Shatterskull smashing the modal card with the Bolt land on the other side. So it costs you 3 damage to play the Bolt land, to play it untapped. Otherwise, you play the sorcery version, which is Shatterskull smashing, deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. If X is 6 or more, Shatterskull smashing deals twice X damage divided as you choose among them instead. Super fabulous removal card. All right, now we're into shenanigans, and this is serious shenanigans. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So this is an alt-win condition because you are going to be generating so many permanents entering the battlefield with Krenko and the other synergies that you have going on here that you most likely, once you get this engine going, you're going to mill all of your opponents. Well, it is one opponent at a time. So this is definitely going to be a target on the board when they see this hit it. But it costs 1, so you could be getting this out super early and just creating all sorts of chaos. Blood Moon. Now, Blood Moon is in here because it's mono red, and you should be running Blood Moon if you're in mono red. This thing is fantastic. Non-basic lands are mountains. This does not affect us at all. Even the 2 utility lands that we're running, they still become mountains regardless. Now, make sure you don't play Ruination if this is already out. Otherwise, Ruination won't do diddly squat because everything will be considered a mountain. Oh, super awesome. This is just a fantastic card in mono red. You're going to be seeing a lot of grumpy faces on the other side of the table when you drop this onto the battlefield. Bogart Shenanigans. Oh, I love the fact that this is called Shenanigans and this is the Shenanigans category. Oh, it's a tribal enchantment goblin. Whenever another goblin you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may have Bogart Shenanigans deal 1 damage to target player. So all of your sacked goblins or attacking goblins, or any time a goblin dies, 1 damage to a target player. Oof. Oh man, that is just beautiful. Goblin Bombardment for 2. Sacrifice creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So if you need to be sacking on your own, this is the engine to do it. And it's going to be doubling up that damage. You got those 2 cards back to back. Oh, again, keep the chuckling internal. Goblin Warrens for 3. For 3, you sacrifice 2 goblins, put 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield. Coming up here shortly, you're going to see how creating goblins also pings people very significantly. And that's why this is in here. Impact Tremors for 2. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield. I was just talking about this. Under your control, Impact Tremor deals 1 damage to each opponent. each opponent. Need I say more about that card? No. Makeshift munitions for 2. It's an enchantment. 1. Sacrifice an artifact or creature. Well, you're going to be sacking goblins. Makeshift munitions deals 1 damage to any target. Oh, man. More of the pinging them in the face until they want to cry. Purphoros, God of the Forge. Oh, you guessed it, folks. This thing is in here because it does damage. Lots and lots of damage. It's a 4-drop legendary enchantment creature, god, indestructible. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5. Purphoros isn't a creature, and we're not even concerned if it becomes a creature because that is not this kind of a build. But most likely it will be. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Purphoros deals 2 damage to each opponent. And for 3 creatures you control, get +1/+0 until end of turn. More in-your-face damage just because we're making goblins. 2 in the face. Making goblins, 2 in the face. And with Krenko out, making multiples, it's 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, you can lose track. You can lose track of how much damage you're doing. Rings of Bright Hearth. It's a 3-drop. Whenever you play an activated ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 2. If you do, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So, Krenko, you tap it, you copy that. Now, instead of him doing, let's say you have 10 goblins out on the board, instead of him doing 20, you do 10, 10, 10. So this is in here specifically to combo up with Krenko, your commander, your illustrious goblin mob boss commander. Shivan Harvest for 2 enchantment. It's a pay 2, sacrifice a creature, destroy target non-basic land. So if Blood Moon wasn't bad enough or Ruination wasn't bad enough, you can now sack a goblin token that you're just creating out of thin air and start killing more non-basic lands. Whoa. And notice, this is less than $1. $1. People, pick this card up for mono red goblin stuff. Hope you already knew about that card. If you didn't, I'm glad you're watching because that's awesome. 1,000-Year Elixir, another way to get your commander to start doing more janky jank. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures have haste. And you can pay 1 and untap target creature. So you can make Krenko do its thing more than once in a turn. Sweet. Sweet. Now, the reverse of this. Throne of the God Pharaoh. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. So you got tapped goblins. You're going to be doing life. You're going to be 1 damage each one that's tapped. Sweet. Sweet. Goblins entering. Goblins leaving. Goblins just existing. They're all over the place. Raw! Yes. Yes, such shenanigans. All right, we're into the draw segment. Herald's Horn, probably a well-known one, a very good one. It's a 3-drop artifact. As Herald of the Horn enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. So this is perfect for tribal. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. Yes, please. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of that chosen type, which it likely will be, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Like that card. All right. Icon of Ancestry. It's a 3-drop artifact right out of M20. Creatures you control of the chosen type, goblins, get +1/+1. And what's even nicer is for 3 tap, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card of the chosen type from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on top of your library in a random order. So it just helps you start going through your deck, getting those goblins that you need. Skull Clamp. If we got 1/1 goblin tokens out there, we're going to be running Skull Clamp. It's a 1-drop artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. So you attach it to your goblin. He dies. When equipped creature is put into a graveyard, draw 2 cards. So there you go. Of course we're going to run this. Why wouldn't we run this? We're running this. Absolutely run this. Vanquishers Banner, a banner for 5. As Vanquishers Banner enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. Yes, draw. In red. Wheel of Fortune. Yes. This is a super janky, spendy card. There is an alternative, but let's talk about it first. It's a 3-drop. All players must discard their hands and draw 7 new cards. So you should play this, but for budgetary reasons, if you can't play this or don't want to play this, run its cousin, Wheel of Fate. There you have it. It's got suspend. It almost does the same thing, but it's got suspend mechanic, and your opponents will know that you're about to do it. So this is a far superior card, of course, which is a more expensive card, of course, but that is definitely something you could swap out for a draw. Moving on. Battle Hymn for 2. Add red to your mana pool for each creature you control. So when you drop this thing onto the stack, you're probably going to have a good amount of goblins running amok on the battlefield. Brightstone Ritual for 1. Add red to your mana pool for each goblin in play, which is probably going to be a whole lot of them. Dockside Extortionist. Oh, what a super duper awesome Goblin Pirate. This is run in all sorts of commander decks that run red. This just happens to be a goblin. When Dockside Extortionist enters the battlefield, create X treasure tokens when X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control, which is probably going to be a few because everybody seems to run Soul Ring, and it seems like it comes out on turn 1 or 2 all the time. So, pretty cool. You can sack it and get mana of any color. Well, it's going to be red, but so what? And he's a goblin, so hey, why not? Fire Diamond. It's a 2-drop. Fire Diamond enters battlefield tapped. Add red. It's a very nice card to have in mono red. Super swappable if you want to run something else. It's just, we like running it because it's super effective. Heraldic Banner, a newcomer from Throne of Eldraine. This does a couple really cool things. It's a 3-drop artifact. As it comes into the battlefield, choose a color, which will be red. And creatures you control of the chosen color get +1. Oh, and you tap it and add 1 mana of the chosen color. Oh man, this is a cool card. I was actually even running this in mono red up the ladder as of very recently until Zendikar Rising. Now you can tell when this thing was recorded if you're watching this 2 years in the future. But moving on. All right, Mana Crypt, another completely swappable card, but let's say what it is in case you're not familiar. Mana Crypt for 0. At the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Mana Crypt deals 3 damage to you. It is a free soul ring for nothing. All right, Ruby Medallion, another red jank. Ruby Medallion for 2. Red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Red spells you cast. I did say that, right? So I'll just move on. Okay, moving on. Skirk Prospector for 1. It's a 1/1 goblin. Sacrifice goblin, add 1. Well, that's going to be really useful if we have a billion 1/1 goblin tokens out there, or even 10, or even 5, or whatever. Super duper ramp. Soul Ring, run it. All right, the one non-goblin creature in this deck, but look what it does, and it tops our horde section. 4 red. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of the first upkeep, put a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste onto the battlefield. Wow. Now, this is great because if it is in your opening hand, you immediately get a 1/1 token out there where Krenko can start cranking out the tokens. Super duper awesome. I've had this pulled on me multiple times playing against this deck, and every time it happens, I'm like, oh. All right. When Chancellor of the Forge enters the battlefield, put X11 red goblin creature tokens with haste onto the battlefield, where X is the number of creatures you control. This can be so out of hand when it hits the battlefield because it's a mid-gamer. Ho, 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 ho. And they have haste. Man, this is just fabulous. And notice, it's only $1. It only costs you $1 to get this card. Man, it is very specific to goblins, though. Coat of Arms, holy shnikes, dude, this thing is super tribal. Coat of Arms for 5 artifact. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature in play that shares a creature type with it. And I love its example. Its example is, for example, if a Goblin Warrior, a Goblin Scout, and a Zombie Goblin are in play, each get +2/+2. Whew. And I love the flavor text. 2, 3, 4. Don't know how to count no more. Now just put that in your goblin voice and you got it. Oh man, Coat of Arms is super crazy in a tribal and certainly in this build. So it is just holy shnikes. Door of Destinies. Oh man, a horde card for sure. For 4. As Door of Destiny enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. When you cast a spell of the chosen type, goblins, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. So your goblins become immensely big very, very quickly. All right, Fervor. Creatures you control have haste. Need I say more? No. Goblin Caves. Enchant land. If enchanted land is a basic mountain, which it will be, goblin creatures get +0/+2. Lovely, lovely 5-cent card, 10-cent card. I don't know. It's not very expensive at all. It's from the dark. Let's see how expensive it is. 60 cents. That's super cool. Janky jank goblin specific card. Goblin Offensive. X colorless red. Put X11 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield. Yes, sir. Goblin Shrine for 3. Enchant land. If enchanted land is a mountain, goblin creatures get +1/+0. Super duper. Also from the dark, by the way. And also cheap. God, I love that old artwork. So cool looking. Goblin War Strike for 1. Goblin War Strike deals damage equal to the number of goblins you control to target player. This technically could be in the win con category because if you make this happen for a measly 1 red, one red, however many goblins you have on the playfield, it goes right into the face of a player. That's game over. For them, that's game over. Just game over. Goblin damage right in your face. Let's play again. Scoop, play again. You want to play goblins again? Hellrider. Oh, I am mistaken. There is more than 1 non-goblin creature in here. There must be 2. All right, Hellrider, creature, devil, haste. When a creature you control attacks, which is going to be a lot of them, Hellrider deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking. Hoo-wee. Man, that can get out of hand real quick. All right. Last ditch effort for 1. Sacrifice X creatures. Last ditch effort deals X damage to target creature or player. So this can right a messed up battlefield, or you can just smack right into the face, some serious burn, and you'll have plenty of creatures to sack them. Plus, if you're sacking, and you probably have the other synergies out there where when you sack, then you do damage. Oh, it's Goblin Chaos! Goblin Chaos! All right, anybody who's still watching this, put something in the comments about Chaos, because this is chaotic. Goblin Chaos everywhere. Massive Raid for 3. Massive Raid deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of creatures you control. You see the theme. You see what's going on here. Mob Justice. Yeah, for 2. These spells are so cheap to do. Mob Justice deals 1 damage to target player for each creature you control. Oh, I love it, love it. You just got so many ways of just smacking them in the face without even attacking. Plus, on top of that, you have so many things to smack them in the face with your creatures too. All right, Shared Animosity for 3 enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. Whew, wow. Yeah, I mean, wow. And I thought this was from an older version. Yeah, I thought that was from Morningtide. Very cool. Tribal red, smacky in your face. My creatures just became gigantic. And that rounds out the Commander 99 cards for Krenko Mob Boss. Again, he creates so many tokens so quickly. This is super fast. I mean, by turn 4 or 5 or 6, you could have a huge board that's super wide. This has got a lot of alt-win conditions. It's got a lot of ping him in the face, smack him in the face, sack it. It comes into the battlefield, it sacks it, it taps it. It's just so much fun stuff going on with this build, this mono red Krenko Mob Boss build. I highly recommend you put this one together as either one of your primary decks or just a fun one to pull out where people aren't expecting it. And they will have fun watching it too, because who doesn't love goblins? Who doesn't love goblins? Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, smash it, and check out our other videos. Thanks for being a friend of the gathering. Make sure you put a comment in the comment section. We are growing our channel. We are very excited. We really appreciate your guys' support. We couldn't do this without you. We love doing this stuff. Again, subscribe if you're new, hit the like if you aren't, and make sure you put in comments. We will respond to every comment that gets put on any episode. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you later.